Hey, so here is my response video to answer all the questions that were listed by Deconverted Man. And I'm reading here from Thanks for Responding. There are a lot of questions beyond the first question. And just to give you a reference, the first question Deconverted Man asked was, why trust the Bible? Now, my question for him and you, if you are watching, is, are you asking, why do I trust the Bible? Or why do I think people trust the Bible? I made a video response answer to this question that focused mainly on why I feel trust is important, just the quality of trust, to which he had replied like, wow, you seem like a happy person. So you can look at those comments there. I'm not going to waste my time here doing that anymore. So then, okay, to just give you an answer to that first question, please let me know. Are you asking, why do I trust the Bible? Because if that is the question you're asking in that wording, I don't trust the Bible. I see the Bible for what it is and appreciate it for that. But aside from that, I have no idea why. I have heard people tell me that they trust that this book is absolute truth. So I hope that answers that question. Then you write, there are a lot of questions beyond the first question that I hope you will think about. You do not have to answer them per se unless you want to. I want to. We must, in my view, ask critical questions of anything we think to be true. Yes. Yes. Okay. He didn't number these questions, but I'll number it. The first question, are any of the stories true, or are they just stories? Question mark. And he asks fables and myths. Again, I'm just going to assume you're asking these questions to me in regards to the claim that I made. Because again, that was a whole different conversation. Where we were talking about the Kyle Rittenhouse case that you did. You said court cases, will people follow in the path of the verdict? Question mark, maybe. But we would need supporting data to show that to be the case. Positive claims require support, which you were doing in your breakdown for those people calling Nazis. Religion is a complex topic, of course. Yes, I agree. Part tradition, part ritual, part social, lots of other parts, but okay. Now the quote unquote, I am God is quite the extortionary claim. I'm not going to give you. Now you say Bible says X. Okay, Bible says X. Bible also says Y and Z, and to some people Z1, ZA. So yeah, is X true? Again, okay, we'll talk about this. I don't want to get into that. Are any of the stories true, or are they just stories? Depending on who you ask, they're just stories or they're true stories. But if you're asking me, you're asking the wrong, like you are completely missing the beauty of the book if this is the question you're stuck on asking. I'm beyond this question. So fables and myths, that's up to the interpreter. You know, I'm not going to tell you what this story means to you. Like if a kid reads Harry Potter and says like, I believe this is real. Like, hey, if it's not hurting anybody, I'm not going to break his world. But if he starts like trying to cast like spells on people, as like in a adolescent teen or something like that, hey, yeah, I'm going to step in and just be like, okay, you're a little too old to be, acting this way. Is it possible that question number 2, is it possible that some of the stories are myths/fables and other parts are true? How would we deduce what is true and what is myth? By seeking answers rather than just taking something and then saying, okay, that's enough. So, depending on who you ask again, yeah, it's going to sound like a fable, myth, or absolute truth, depending on who you ask and who is asking. But if you are asking me, they are ideas. They're not stories, they're not myths, they're not fables, they're ideas. That would be my answer. Question 3. I guess that first one was kind of a 2-part question. Because then you ask after how would we deduce what is true and what is myth? Then you follow up with that in mind, who wrote the books of the Bible? Yeah, I mean, come on. Is this like a serious question? A guy named John, like I guess a group of people called the Philistines. Like it says, like who says it? So that's who wrote that part of the Bible. If you're asking like like who wrote the Bible? Gutenberg. The Gutenberg Bible was the first ever piece of literature that was published on the Gutenberg press, which was the first press invented to do such a thing. Next question. When and where was each text found and by whom? I mean, again, in the Bible, these are just, anything written about Luke is technically from that narrator's perspective. So it's Luke telling his his narrative. If it's the Philistines, I don't know. I guess it's that group of people. I guess they picked a spokesman who did this, but essentially my understanding of what that meant is just whoever the chapter is essentially the narrator. Now, if we go deeper into like scientific terms, we know for sure that the Old Testament is comprised of the 5 books of the Torah, I believe. And that's where we get that. And then where was the Torah written? The Torah was written by man, supposedly Moses, who spoke to God or, said that this is what God told him to write and tell the people. And then now, later in history, now we're finding like the Dead Sea Scrolls and like archaeologists, like just everything changes. The only constant is change. Everything changes. Except for those first 3 laws that I sent you. Next question. How were the different stories selected that would stay in? Exactly. It's once the New Testament was put in every motel stand and people just started getting it, then obviously the establishment of churches start to form. And then it's the leaders of those churches that ultimately pick and choose what stays and what goes. There's books of Enoch and stuff like that. If you watch Ancient Aliens, there's a lot of texts that have been left out or discarded or just hidden from, whatever. I don't know if you're ancient alien theorists out there, but who selected them? I think I answered that. And again, the breakthrough I had with this question was just like a clip I found from like The West Wing, where I guess it was like an episode on like gay marriage or something like that. And like Martin Sheen, the president, I guess, said, you know, like it used to be a sin to like, hang out on a Saturday or something, like it was something like that. Like it was a point. God, I'll look up the quote if I need to, but it was like that one thing where I was just like, what? That just blew my mind. Like, yeah, like it used to be a sin to like just chill like on a Saturday. Like it was written. Like, and so yeah, that didn't jive eventually with like our culture, especially in America. What do? They just let that part out. That doesn't matter. Now what happens? The people who were like founded on that probably, yeah, found that. But then there's going to be a new branch of people who believe this and not that. But they both came from the same source. Does that matter? So then it's like, this is where the branch is in between inside the churches. In my theory, this is what I credit it to. It's just when these things change, then a new group forms. Because obviously that's logically what has to happen, right? There has to be a group that follows the old tradition, and then there has to be the group that says, oh, okay, I'm going to adapt, or no, I just believe this, right? And then so on and so on. What became of the stories discarded as not being something worth included? Exactly. Maybe they're hidden in the vault of the Vatican. Maybe they just completely got burned by the Nazis. Maybe there's like 5 caves down from where the Dead Sea Scrolls. Who knows? Who knows? What do we know about the time when the stories were written? And then, what does not knowing any answer to the above questions tell you about your trust, faith in the Bible? Is it based on knowledge or evidence? You tell me. What are all the answers I just gave you based on? Because I think it's a lot more than that. God is love. We know love exists as an emotion we can feel for objects and living creatures. So is God an emotion? The Holy Spirit? Do we even need the word God? That's a great question. And then you thank me for responding to anything you've asked me here in general. And you look forward to what I have to say about this. Okay, so, all right. So those are the basic answers there. And then now, what do we know about the time when the stories were written? And what does not knowing any answer to the above questions tell you about your trust and faith in the Bible? Is it based on knowledge or evidence? So I will make a video addressing just what do we know about the time. I'll tell you what I know. So look for that video. Hope those answers the questions, just to help you get a better character idea of who you're going to be talking to tomorrow.